it's me, of course, Shay, and I'm back with another video. In this video, I'm going to be telling you guys a story, and it's not just any story, it's a true crime story. I don't know if you guys remember, but I'm sure you do. There was a video that went viral. There was a man in court, and he was acting as his own attorney. The man who was in court acting as his own attorney was Ronnie O'Neal III. He lived in Temple, Florida, in a neighborhood called Riverview, located in Hillsborough County. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Please, please, please comment on this video. If you don't do anything else, please comment. Actually, like and comment. Please subscribe. No, actually do all three. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I am going to be doing my makeup at the same time. I'm not going to make this video about me doing my makeup. It's just something to do while I tell you guys the story of what happened. Let's go ahead and jump right into this video. Before I get started, I also want to let you guys know that I filmed this video last Thursday and I completed the entire video. I finished editing the video by Saturday evening and I was just about to post it on my channel, but my phone ran out of storage. I tried to clear up some of my storage on my phone and I deleted the entire video. So this is my second time around filming this video. So please, I beg you guys, please, if you don't do anything else, like this video and subscribe, because I'm trying my hardest to give you guys good content and I love true crime. So go ahead and like this video.
A fraudulent recording where they allege that I beat Kenyatta Barron to death. He talked about Mr. Khalil Brown, my neighbor who stayed across the street. But if Mr. Khalil Brown was a help to them proving me guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, they would have called Mr. Khalil Brown. But I called Mr. Khalil Brown to be a witness for me. And I didn't ask him to lie about one thing that he saw that night. I asked him to tell the jury exactly what he saw that night. And you have to ask yourself why that is. Because he's playing a fraudulent damn recording of me beating Kenyatta Barron 15 damn times when that did not happen.
Before I get started, I'm just going to go ahead and give you guys a little bit of history about Ronnie O'Neal III. So Ronnie was born July 27, 1988. He was a Gemini. At 5 years old, which I'm not sure if this is relevant to the story or not, his mother sent him to visit his grandmother. During that visit, his grandmother had to run some errands. She left his 3 older male cousins to watch after him. At this time, they forced Ronnie to give them oral sex, and they also raped Ronnie. I mention that because he could have possibly been suffering from PTSD. He could have been triggered. Anything could have happened. But I'm in no way, shape, or form saying that that is the reason why he decided to commit this heinous crime. Ronnie grew up. It was time for him to start bringing in money. I don't know if he explored all the avenues of making money, but he decided to deal drugs. In 2008 and 2009, he was caught and charged with the conspiracy to traffic cocaine. He also had misdemeanors on his record for other drug charges. And he also had a traffic violation on his record for driving with a suspended license. All in all, he got into his fair share of trouble, but it was never anything along the lines of this. Eventually, Ronnie met a woman named Kenyatta Barron. She became his girlfriend, and they were in a very serious and long-term relationship. They had 2 children. Their first child was Ronnie O'Neal, who was 9 years old at the time of this incident. She had autism, and they also had a son who was Ronnie O'Neal IV. He was 8 years old at the time of this incident. Ronnie O'Neal III and Kenyatta Barron had moved their family to a suburban neighborhood called Riverview. This neighborhood was located in Hillsborough County. On March 18, 2018, Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department received a call from a woman in distress. During the call, they heard the woman pleading for help. She stated that she had just been shot. She's telling the dispatchers, can you please get someone out here as soon as possible, basically. I've been shot. As she was trying to provide the dispatchers with the address to her home, they heard a man in the background screaming, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar means God is the greatest, or I love you, God, in Arabic. They also heard the man saying, say it. Say Allahu Akbar to a little boy in the background. The little boy recited the words as well. After the little boy recited the words, Ronnie O'Neal III was heard telling the little boy, get in here and help me kill this beep. After that, they just heard more and more screaming and yelling. Eventually, they heard the woman say, I'm so sorry, Ronnie. I'm so sorry. The woman said, I'm trusting in you. I'm trusting in everything that you do. I love you. Allahu Akbar. And then they heard the man screaming, she killed me. They heard Ronnie. He's saying, she killed me. Don't come inside. That's what he's telling the neighbors. Don't come inside. So the neighbors, they were about to come inside of the home. They heard the commotion. They heard the screaming. They heard the yelling. And he's telling them, don't come inside. This call took place at 11:43 p.m. The call ended. At 11:51, Ronnie O'Neal made a call himself. He contacted 911 dispatchers, and during his call, he said, I've just been attacked by some white demons. That's what he said. Her name is Kiki, and she's trying to kill me. Basically, he's saying that she was possessed by white demons. That's what he said, white demons. He said, her name is Kiki. She tried to kill me, and I just killed her. She tried to kill me, so I had to beat her to the punch, basically. Of course, the dispatchers are on the line. They're like, where are you? Where are you located? They're trying to get there as soon as possible, because at this point, this is their second call. Little did Ronnie know, the police had already arrived. Ronnie was heard on the phone providing the police dispatchers with the address. Ronnie's telling the dispatchers, we're located at 13,000 or the 13,000 block of Pike Lake Drive. Little did he know the police had already arrived. They arrived at 11:49 p.m., 2 minutes before his call. They were outside of the home. When they arrived, they saw a woman laid out in the front yard on the concrete. Her body was unresponsive. She had already lost her life. She was gone. Of course, they tried to render aid, but it was nothing really that they could do at this point. She was beat to death. Moments later, the deputies who arrived on the scene, they looked at the home and they noticed smoke coming from the home. They assumed that there must have been a fire that had been started in the home, because they also saw a spark of light. Immediately, they head towards the home. They needed to figure out where the smoke was coming from. As they approached the home, the garage door was opened. A man was seen coming out of the garage. He was exiting the garage. It was Ronnie O'Neal III. When he exited the garage, he was covered in blood. It was all over his shirt. It was all over his pants. And he immediately ran out and crouched down next to Kenyatta's body. He was drenched in blood, guys. When he dropped down next to Kenyatta, the first words that came from his mouth were, "You don't understand. She killed me." Sir, how did she kill you when you're right here, alive and well, and talking to us? It's not possible. I mean, of course, unless you're a cat and you have 9 lives. If she killed you, you shouldn't be here at this very moment talking to me. That's what I would be thinking. and saying, because, sir, at this point, I don't even care what you're talking about. You're the only person alive, and everyone else is dead. But we're going to get to that part. The police, they're not trying to hear nothing he's talking about. They telling him, sir, stop and get on the ground. Of course he's not listening because he has lost all of his marbles at this point. They tase him. They have to. They have no choice at this point. They tase him and they cuff him. During this time, he is still repeating Allahu Akbar. They put him in the back of the police car. Guess what he's still doing? He's still repeating Allahu Akbar over and over. In the back seat of the police car, while they were taking him to the station, he said, Kiki is the devil. My kids are the devil. She tried to kill me. They take him right on to the station and lock him up. Exactly what they needed to do because, sir, at this point, we don't want to hear none of it. Shut it and get in this cell. Now, when paramedics and first responders had gotten a hold of the little boy, he said, my father shot my mother. He said that at the scene. They rushed the little boy off to the hospital. The fire search and rescue team continued to search the home, and upon this search, they found some gruesome evidence. During trial, they reported that they saw in the kitchen knives spread all over the kitchen floor, like they had been pulled out of the drawer and just thrown all over the floor. They continued to walk throughout the home. They found an old lawnmower tipped over on its side, a gas tank. They found a piece of cloth in the lawnmower gas tank. They saw a pile of debris. When they lifted up that pile of debris, they found a little girl. The firefighter who found that little girl, his last name was Foster. I feel like I gotta give him special recognition because this little girl has special needs. When he walked into that home, he said there was blood all over the place. At first, he was slipping. He didn't know what he was slipping on. He's like, what is this? What is this? He later determined that it was blood. Basically, Ronnie O'Neal III had massacred the entire household. Some reports say that Ronivia O'Neal, the little girl, was 11 years old. Some say she was 9 at the time. At this point, I'm not quite sure. I just know she was the older sibling. The debris that he encountered, he wasn't sure if it was a mattress or a clothes. He couldn't really decipher. All he knows is that this little girl was buried underneath. And when he removed that debris, she was pronounced dead at the scene. He stated her body was beyond recognizable. I'm going to tell you exactly what Ronnie did. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened that day. Just keep watching. As the day continued, detectives interviewed the little boy who was in the hospital, the remaining survivor, the only survivor of this brutal murder. The little boy was in a state of delirium. He was so confused. They asked the little boy, Ronnie O'Neal IV, do you know who did this to you? Ronnie O'Neal IV said, my dad was saying Allahu Akbar and he stabbed me. He had a knife and he stabbed me. Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys what happened. Full story. What the prosecutors determined happened after trial. That night of March 18, 2018, Ronnie O'Neal III had just arrived home from work. Earlier that day, when Ronnie was working his shift, Kenyatta Barron had gotten into a Facebook altercation with the mother of Ronnie O'Neal's son. Ronnie O'Neal had a relationship outside of the relationship with Kenyatta Barron. During that time, he had a son. Kenyatta Barron and the mother of that son got into an argument on Facebook earlier that day of March 18, 2018. I tried to find screenshots or the actual post of what happened that day on Facebook, but I couldn't find it. It seemed like they had potentially deleted Kenyatta Barron's Facebook profile. I did see a lot of information about her memorial. Or maybe they just deleted the post altogether because this post was 3 years ago. Remember, I told you this incident occurred in 2018, so I couldn't find the post. Ronnie O'Neal III got home and he received news about this Facebook altercation. Him and Kenyatta Barron got into an argument that day. Apparently, the argument had transpired. It transitioned from them arguing about what happened earlier that day on Facebook to them arguing about God. I guess that's why Ronnie O'Neal kept saying Allahu Akbar. He had Kenyatta Barron repeat Allahu Akbar, and he also had his son repeat it as well, because somehow the conversation transitioned to them speaking about God. While Kenyatta Barron was in the closet speaking to 911 dispatchers, that was when it was heard Ronnie O'Neal III telling Ronnie O'Neal IV, "Come in here, get in here, and help me kill this bee." Ronnie O'Neal IV, of course, listened and went into the room. His dad put the shotgun in his hand. He said, "Here, help me shoot her." At this point, Kenyatta attempted to run for her life. She ran out of the home, so she managed to escape, but Ronnie O'Neal was right on her heels. Ronnie O'Neal III chased after her. He chased her down with the shotgun in hand. She made it outside. Somehow, he tackled her, or maybe she fell. And at this point, Ronnie O'Neal used the shotgun to beat Kenyatta Barron to death. Suddenly, Ronnie O'Neal IV noticed that he forgot about his sister, who was in the home. He tried to run back in to save her. His father went into the garage and grabbed a hatchet. He grabbed an old rusty axe, went back inside the house, and found Renevia O'Neal. The little boy testified that he saw his father murder his little sister with autism with the axe. He chopped her up with the axe. He chopped her in her head. He chopped her in her neck. At this point, the little boy knew that there was nothing left to do but try to run for his life. He ran into the kitchen. He chased the little boy into the kitchen where he had him cornered. He grabbed the little boy and tried to set fire to him with a match. After he dropped the match, he grabbed a knife from the kitchen drawer. So I guess that's how all of the knives got splattered across the floor. And I'm guessing he had the little boy in his hands like this because usually that's how fathers talk to their sons. They grab them by their shirts, and he told the little boy, "Repeat after me." He said, "Don't say a word." And told the little boy to repeat, Allahu Akbar. Ronnie O'Neal IV said it. He said, Allahu Akbar. And his father stabbed him in the stomach. He was stabbing him. He told him, say, "God is my father." And stabbed him and stabbed him and stabbed him so much that his intestines were exposed. Can you imagine? The little boy was stabbed so many times, he blacked out. He doesn't remember what happened from the point where he was stabbed up until the point where he was stumbling out of the home and the police officers were there. He told the investigators that he doesn't even remember how he got burned. That's how delirious he was. After everything, the medical examiners determined that Kenyatta Barron died from blunt force trauma. Those injuries to her skull from Ronnie O'Neal repeatedly hitting her with the butt of the gun caused her death. It wasn't the gunshot. She had one gunshot wound in her arm. Medical examiners also reported that Ronnie O'Neal, the little girl, had multiple stab wounds as well. So that was from him hitting her with the axe. The report stated that she had stab wounds to her face and to her neck, and she also had a gunshot wound in her neck. This leads me to believe that she was shot first, because later on at trial, Ronnie O'Neal III stated that Kenyatta Barron shot Ronnie O'Neal, which made him retaliate against Kenyatta Barron. I don't believe that that part is true. I feel that maybe he actually shot Ronnie, but you never know. Simply because Ronnie O'Neal IV didn't say that he saw his father shoot Ronnie. He only said that he saw her chop her up with the hatchet. All in all, Ronnie O'Neal was not recognizable. Her body was not recognizable. Her face was not recognizable. Ronnie O'Neal IV, he was burned on 20% of his entire body. Do you know how much that is? That's a lot. That's a very lot. He had second and third degree burns. He also had multiple stab wounds, primarily in his stomach. All of his burns were on his extremities, like his arms and his legs. Little Ronnie was in critical condition, you guys. Not to mention that little Ronnie also had a punctured lung. So that's really why he had a ventilator, because he couldn't breathe on his own. His father stabbed him viciously. Ronnie O'Neal IV smelled as if he was covered in gasoline. He had a severe burn on his arm. He also had blisters on his finger. His pants leg had a rip and a burn. His shirt and his pants were drenched in blood. So that just goes to show everything that he did in the house that night. They determined that the ignition source was from 3 places. It was from 2 bedrooms and the living room. I honestly feel like he probably premeditated this murder, because how did he have so much time to do all of these things? I mean, during that time where he was spreading gasoline throughout the entire house, I feel like there should have been time for someone to make an escape to get to the neighbors. Or maybe he had thought he had shot Kenyatta and she was dead, and that's when he started to spread things around and do all of these things, go back and forth from the garage. I'm not sure. Maybe it wasn't the day before, but it was definitely in that moment he came up with a plan to try and dismiss all evidence by burning the home down, but it didn't work out like that. In 2018, it was recommended that Ronnie O'Neal III not be allowed to act as his own attorney. Psychologists informally diagnosed him with multiple mental disabilities. They said that he was mentally incompetent to act as his own attorney. They diagnosed him with PTSD, bipolar disorder, and several other disabilities. This year, in 2021, they allowed him to act as his own attorney. During his opening statement, he said, and I quote, "The evidence is going to show that we are under some of the most vicious, lying, fabricating, fictitious government you have ever seen." I can't disagree with that part. By the time it's all said and done, you will see who is the mass murderers in Tampa Bay, the state of Florida. You will know why what occurred on March 18, 2018 occurred. The evidence is going to show that law enforcement tampered with evidence to meet their such high burden of proof, since it was such evident already that we still had to tamper with evidence. So in the American judicial system, that high burden of proof is beyond a reasonable doubt. Therefore, the prosecution had to prove that Ronnie O'Neal III committed these crimes beyond a reasonable doubt. You can't find anything to show that he did not do this that makes sense. That's what they needed to prove in order to give Ronnie O'Neal the death sentence. They needed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. In 2018, they initially wanted Ronnie O'Neal to get the death penalty. They wanted him to get the injection. They wanted him to be done for. They wanted him to pay for what he did. They wanted a life for a life. But in order to get a life for a life, you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. During his opening statement, Ronnie O'Neal went on to say, "The evidence is going to show that my son did not see me murder his mom. The evidence is going to show that my son did not see me shoot his mom. The evidence is going to show that my son said many things that are not true." I'm not going to talk about trial because for the simple fact that I could not find the entire trial online. But I did see, which you probably did too, that video of Ronnie O'Neal cross-examining his son. During that cross-examination, Ronnie O'Neal asked his son, "Did you see me shoot your mom?" And his son said no. But if you remember earlier on in this video, I told you guys, as soon as the paramedics saw Ronnie O'Neal IV, which is the little boy, when they saw him, he said, "My father shot my mother." So that's why he said my son have said things that are not true, because his son's story is kind of changing. But can you really blame him? He went through this traumatic experience. His mind was hazy. His thoughts were hazy during the time of the incident. He's still confused. He doesn't technically know because remember, he blacked out in the kitchen after his father stabbed him. He lost a vast portion of his memory. Come on now, some things you just will never forget. And he remembers his father murdering his sister with that hatchet. That's what he do remember. As Ronnie continued his opening statement, he said, "Anything that I may have said, they exasperated and made me say it consecutively over and over, like Allahu Akbar, which I may have said once or twice. But they wanted to make me seem like a terrorist. And so you hear me say it 8 or 9 times, and you hear me calling Kenyatta Barron a bitch and a WHORE. This next portion is another portion of the trial that I didn't get to see, which is when he cross-examined his father. His father got on this witness stand, and I don't really know what happened. I don't really know what they talked about. I don't even know what they talked about during the call that he said that he made to his father. Listen to this. "The evidence is going to show that I called my dad after calling 911. But that call is all of a sudden missing from the T-Mobile records that we have acquired from T-Mobile. The 911 call that I made to 911 and the 911 call that you just heard cannot be proven that it was made, because after I called for an investigation of those calls, all of a sudden they became missing from all evidence." Basically, he's saying, y'all telling me I said this. Show me. Let me see the records. Let me investigate this, because I don't think that I said this. I don't think that it happened how y'all telling me it happened. I don't think those calls were made when you guys are telling me that those calls were made. Show me. And he's saying that when he tried to ask them for them to provide him with the record of the calls, the transcripts, the recordings, they came up missing from all evidence. I don't know how true that is because of the simple fact that I didn't get to see the whole trial. So you guys have to keep in mind that this is just his opening statement. When he's saying the evidence is going to show, he's basically letting them know, he's letting the jury know that once we continue with this trial, you guys are going to see, I'm going to show you proof of everything that I'm telling you right now in my opening statement. I don't know if he actually showed them proof of those things because apparently the jury didn't side with him. You guys are going to have to try and see if you can find the actual trial the footage of the trial? Because I couldn't. And I looked. Trust and believe I looked. Because I like to come with all receipts all the time. Because I don't want to tell any lies. There is no telling if what he said during his opening statement is what he proved during trial. Therefore, I don't know what was missing from evidence. But he says that it was going to be missing from evidence, or that it was when he asked for that recording. Ronnie O'Neal IV went on to say the evidence is going to show that Kenyatta Barron made a call. But you cannot find that on her call log, which we pulled from her actual phone. At this point, he's saying she made a call. I made a call. Her call is not showing up in the system. Or where did it go? Simple math. Let me give you guys an example. I can be making a call right now. Let's just say I decide to call my mother and talk about whatever. During that call, if my phone dies and I turn my phone back on, you won't see it in my call log. Because I honestly can't tell you why. I just know that happens every time. If I call someone and my phone dies in the midst of our call, that last call does not show up. And it happens very often because I always wonder, like, what happened to that call I made? So, I mean, anything could have happened. I mean, they did say the call got disconnected. So, at this point, he said, they say she made a call at 11:43. There's no 911 call at 11:43 on her call log. All of a sudden, after I call for an investigation of those ongoing calls, that's what the evidence is going to show. When I call for that investigation of them calls, it's going to show that ain't even on her call log. What y'all talking about? That didn't even happen. What you talking about? But then he says this. The evidence is going to show I look alone, but I am backed by a mighty guard. See, if I was in court, if I was one of the jurors, I would have been probably sympathetic to that statement, because sometimes people do feel alone. Sometimes you know what you did and you know it's not what they're saying that you did. Sometimes you feel like people will have you misunderstood and whatever happened for a reason. Or sometimes you feel like there's nothing you can tell me because you were not there. So at the end of the day, regardless if you believe what I'm saying or not, God has my back. I can get that part. I definitely understand. But at the same time, sir, make it make sense, sir. If you killed Kenyatta Barron because she killed Ronnie, what happened to your son? What happened to your son? Why does he have so many injuries? Sir, why are you covered in blood? Sir, why you smell like nothing but gasoline and gasoline all over the house? Sir, make it make sense. Sir, please. Please, please. The evidence is going to show that I called 911 during Kenyatta Barron's 911 call. But all of a sudden, it ends up after Kenyatta Barron's call was made. Now I'm calling 911. But originally, I called 911 without even knowing she called 911 during her call. Now tell another lie, sir. Tell another lie. Because you knew she was on the phone with 911. Maybe you didn't know. Maybe you didn't know. But what are you doing right now? Your timestamps don't matter. That's for record-keeping purposes. What happened on the call, your voice being recorded, her voice being recorded, doesn't just disappear into thin air, sir. We hear you. We hear her. We even hear your son in the background, and you making him say Allahu Akbar as well. So stop it. Stop trying to find any little loophole to make yourself seem innocent, because it's not working. Let me just move on. Ronnie continues. The evidence is going to show that your representatives and local law enforcement wanted to make me seem like some kind of menace to society. And I ran after killing Kenyatta Barron, knowing that law enforcement was already on the way to kill my children. Basically, he's saying after I killed Kenyatta Barron, I ran to kill my children, even though I knew law enforcement were on the way. That's what they're going to try to make it seem like to y'all. Sir, that's what you did. Like, stop. Stop playing games. Stop playing games. He says, I wonder why I would do something like that for no reason. And I'm standing here competent as can be, representing myself today. Basically, like, anybody who would have done something like that after I called the police and ran after my children to try to kill them, why would I sit up here and call the police and try to kill my kids? Clearly, I got some sense. Clearly, I'm not that stupid. That's what he's basically saying. You know how easy it is for somebody to do some messed up stuff and try to pretend like somebody in their right mind would have never did that? You're trying to manipulate the jury at this point. That's what I feel. I mean, you could be on the other side of the fence and you could think that maybe what he's saying, oh yeah, he do got some points to what he's saying. Like, why would he go try to kill his kids after he already called the police? Nah, it's easy for a good liar to sit up there and act like that would have been stupid. That would have been so stupid of me to do, knowing that they did that. Because they know that everyone else would think that that was a stupid idea. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's so easy to try to manipulate somebody. What they found at the scene, the case is closed, sir. The case is closed. Closed. Ooh, this part make me so mad. Ooh. He said, the evidence is going to show my son did not witness me viciously beat his mom to death. The evidence is going to show that my neighbor, Khalil Brown, whom they are trying to keep out of this trial, witnessed me take 3 strikes. Well, shoot me. Just shoot me at this point. Because 3 strikes or 8. Does it really matter? Does it really matter how many strikes you took? Why did you have to take any strikes at all? Answer me that. Why were you out there beating her with the butt of a shotgun, period? Answer me that. Why did you chase her outside, period? Answer me that. Regardless of however many strikes you took, you're trying to be funny, because I would think the same thing that his family said, which is he's trying to make a mockery of the court, because this is a joke. Like, regardless of how many strikes you quote unquote took, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is enough. Y'all, it's getting me mad. Let me pipe down. He repeats, the evidence is going to show that law enforcement and this administration wanted to make me look like a menace to society. So they added several mini strikes. Sir, if they added some or took some away, you still was going to look like a menace to society, because what are you doing? Look at the gun. Look at the gun. That gun was so dismangled, y'all. That gun looks like it wasn't even a gun at first. That's just the parts before they put the gun together. Stop playing games. He also says, and they added several statements that I did not say. So let me find out. They done cloned your voice and got a man to come sit next to the recording, to the microphone, to the speaker, and say these words that you didn't say. That sound exactly like you when you were saying Alu Akbar and everything else. Come help me kill this bee and all these other things. Say it, say it. Sir, stop playing with our intelligence at this point. You're making me real mad. I'm just going to say a few more quotes before I end this video. I'm going to say a few more quotes, tell you guys what he was sentenced to, and end this, because Mr. Ronnie O'Neal, you exactly where you belong. Right there behind those bars. And I know that beyond a reasonable doubt. He said, the evidence is going to show I love my children. And the evidence is going to prove to you that this whole entire case has been tampered with and fabricated before it's all said and done. And I can guarantee you that. Mark my words. You loved your children so much that you decided to take their life. You loved your child so much that you decided to stab him. You loved your child so much that you decided to hit her with a hatchet, a whole axe out here, Texas Chainsaw Massacre in this mug. And you over here talking about you loved your children. Take a seat. Take several. He said the evidence is going to show I told my son come out here and help me kill this bee. But my neighbor Khalil Brown, Y'all, for some reason, they do not want Khalil Brown involved in this case whatsoever. Like, they are keeping him out of this case. I do not know why, and I do not care why, honestly. Why he keep on talking about Khalil Brown? Like, why is he so important? He not even allowed to testify. He must be your bestie. Nor my neighbor Mona Lisa Gray or any of her children or Mr. Gray heard me say any of those things. In fact, the evidence is going to show that Khalil Brown heard me say she killed me twice and then nothing else. See, if you're so competent to stand trial, why are you still saying that she killed you? This is not funny, but this man is an absolute joke to me at this point. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Why is you still saying that she killed you? She did not kill you. We see you. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what? Make it make sense. Cletus, god dang, you talking real crazy. Ooh. I'm about to wrap this up now. Kenyatta Barron, he tried to make her sound like she was the one who was crazy. He tried to flip the script. He tried to do one of those. He tried to flip it on her. He said the evidence will show that Kenyatta Barron had several medications and drugs, such as morphine, in her system. He basically saying she was doped up and she did some crazy stuff. And he had to kill her. I don't know if the evidence ever showed that either. I don't know if the evidence showed if Kenyatta had morphine in her system. I don't know if the evidence showed that. All I know is, what's your excuse for your son? That's what I'm going to keep on going back to, because if you say Kenyatta killed Ronnie and you killed Kenyatta because she killed Ronnie, then what happened to Ronnie? What happened to little Ronnie? Talking about some she had several drugs in her system. Guess what else he said? He said the evidence will show she had a domestic history. He said, and she was arrested for domestic violence in that same year. Girl, boy, bye. Boy, bye. She probably was. I would be too if I would have, you know what? Let me chill. Let me chill. Let me chill. He said the evidence will show that she threatened to kill me with a knife just a few weeks before the incident. And she was angry about my relationship with my other child's mom and about the fact that we had to be cordial for the sake of our son. So Ronnie O'Neal, he had a newborn son. See, that's what I was talking about at the very beginning of this video. Ronnie O'Neal had a newborn son by another woman outside of his relationship with Kenyatta Barron. That's when that argument transpired on Facebook. That's what I was talking about. He's trying to put the blame all on Kenyatta. God forbid that he is lying, because why are you doing this to this woman? You trying to sabotage her name after you already took her life? Like, do you have any remorse? The answer to that is no. Let me just go ahead and answer my own question. The answer to that is no, because I will tell you guys how he acted afterwards. Not only did he try to discredit Kenyatta Barron's character, he also tried to discredit his son's testimony by making him sound like he has several mental disabilities as well. He said he was born with SLD. He was diagnosed with depression. Well, god dang, if I had to see my daddy kill my mother and my sister, I would have depression too. He said he had PTSD. Well, god dang, if I had to see my daddy kill my mother and my sister, I would have PTSD too. If I had to witness my daddy tell me to my face and pick his hands up and grab a knife and stab me in my stomach, I would have PTSD and depression too. Well, god dang, I would have PTSD and depression too. Let the little boy get a break. It's bad enough that y'all put him on trial. I'm done with these outrageous claims he made. I'm done. On to the next. He had no remorse towards what he did to his family at all. And let me not forget this part. Ronnie O'Neal also told the judge that he had been murdered a couple of times before in the past. You do with that information what you will. When it was time for Ronnie O'Neal to move on to the penalty phase of the trial, the judge strongly advised Ronnie not to testify for himself. This time, he listened. The penalty phase was when the jury was going to go ahead and decide their verdict. The judge was going to decide what he was sentenced to and lock him up. When Ronnie O'Neal gave his closing statements, they pretty much said that he looked like he was unfazed by everything that had happened. They described his appearance as stoic. So he was kind of nonchalant and didn't really seem to care. During his closing statement, he said, "You don't know what happened to my daughter, but you better believe I know what happened to my daughter, and that's why Kenyatta Barron is dead." That's what he said. "I did kill Kenyatta Barron, but I want you to tell it like it is if you're going to tell it." He said she was the one who tried to kill his son. That it wasn't him, it was her all along. Overall, the jury, they decided that Ronnie O'Neal was guilty. So the judge gave her a sentence. She issued him 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole for the 2 murder charges and 1 attempted murder charge. So he got a life sentence for all 3 of those. She sentenced him to 30 years in prison for arson and 30 years in prison for 2 cases of aggravated assault charges on a child. So altogether, that's 90 years. So he has 3 life sentences plus 90 years. He's never getting out. Like, you can't get a death sentence, but let's give you something better. How about we make you sit your life out in prison? Kenyatta Barron's mother, Carrie Lloyd, she said Ronnie O'Neal stole angels from the family, including his daughter, Ronnie, who had special needs and could not talk. Lloyd said she was disappointed with the jury's verdict, and she wanted O'Neal to face the death penalty. I mean, what mother wouldn't? Like, little Ronnie, I'm sure you guys are wondering what happened to him. He was adopted by one of the detectives who were on the scene of the crime that day, March 18, 2018. Maybe the detective generally felt sorry for little Ronnie and just really wanted to help him out. I do have some questions about why he didn't go with Kenyatta Barron's family. I would think that would be the first option when it comes to a case like this. Maybe the environment wasn't safe enough for him, or maybe, I really don't know. I can't answer that question for you guys, but I do know that Ronnie O'Neal III, he was saying that he feel like those detectives coerced his son into saying what he said on trial, helped fabricate the truth about what really happened. So that would go along with his theory that the justice system is corrupt or the government is corrupt. However, it's far-fetched. It's very far-fetched. But I do believe in, like, you know, the corrupt government and secrets that we don't really know about, distractions and things of that nature, things that distract us from what's going on around us. Overall, I'm just happy that little Ronnie is living a peaceful life now, even though he has to live with the fact that his mother and his sister are both gone. I hope that he's living a peaceful life, at least. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. I really hope that this was entertaining enough. I did my very best when it came to researching. I tried to find as much information as possible. I really want to ask you guys again, can you please like, comment, and subscribe on this video? I am an up and coming YouTuber, and I would really appreciate you guys dropping something down in those comments below. You can give me your opinion on what you think happened. If you have conspiracy theories, you can tell me. If you just want to talk about what I talked about today, you can let me know how you guys feel about what I said. Anything is worth something. So this is my first true crime story, and I hope I did a good job. I tried my hardest. I even did my makeup for y'all. I did my makeup for you guys, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if I look cute too, if y'all want to. But yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Welcome to Shay's Chronicles. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And actually turn on that notification bell, because when I post, I want you to know when I post. This is my first true crime story, but it won't be my last. Make sure you guys have those notifications on. Thank you so much, and have a great and blessed day. I finally finished after my second round. Hopefully I don't delete this video again. Deuces.